This is your weekly trip to paradise, Louisiana style, with Gary Risponi. Paradise, Louisiana is also brought to you by Baton Rouge Coca-Cola Bottling Company, Benny's Car Wash and Oil Change, CCA Louisiana, and the CCA Louisiana Star Tournament, IMCO, and by Farm Bureau Insurance.
Welcome to Paradise, Louisiana. Welcome back here. There's some gentlemen on the side of me. We got a special show for y'all. We got two special guests. This is my Central North Louisiana correspondent for years. He's my social media guy. He's my coach about what I should do and what I shouldn't do. But he's a tremendous camera guy, tremendous help, tremendous part of Paradise, Louisiana. And y'all heard his name before, Brendan Dubrock. Now, I learned more and more about Brendan, but all of it is good. So, Brendan, you taking over this next portion of this show, and you're going to be doing the interview because you did all the work, and I'm excited about you being here again. Made the trip. He come from Central Louisiana, and the guests, especially state rep, come all the way from Grand Isle. So they blessed us today, and I thank them. So without further ado, tell them what we're going to see here in the next few minutes.
So, of course, our normal fishing and hunting report and news segment, but we have Polly Glover and Dr. Joe Ogerois with Restore and Retreat, and this is a great NGO for Louisiana, and I am very blessed to be a part of them, and we're going to introduce you guys to Restore Retreat and the many projects that they have completed to restore Louisiana coastal wetlands and communities, and any future projects that they have coming up, and how you can be a part of Restore or Retreat.
That sounds like a winner. We'll be right back with Brendan Dubrock.
Peyton Murphy. I trust him.
Very respectful.
Very professional.
Reliable.
Very knowledgeable.
You can't ask for nothing better than that.
Choosing the right lawyer is an important decision. Visit murphylawfirm.com or call me, Attorney Peyton Murphy, 928-8800.
As members of a Touchstone Energy cooperative, we've all got a job to do. And the more we work together, the more we save. That's the power of your co-op membership.
Demco, your Touchstone Energy cooperative.
This is Don Dubuque asking you to join me as a member of the Coastal Conservation Association. For 30 years, CCA has worked in Louisiana to conserve our incredible fisheries, making sure that our fishing is great today and for generations to come. Whether looking out for redfish and specks, eliminating gill nets, building reefs across the coast, or work at the state capitol and in D.C., CCA is doing what's best for the fish and the sport we love so much. Your $30 membership will ensure that this work and our great fishing endures well into the future. Go to ccalouisiana.com and join CCA today.
For the thirsty, for those who hang out in packs, for heroes, for sidekicks, for those who see the glass half empty, for those who see it half full, for those on the right, for those on the left, for those with nicknames, for those with curves, for people that cycle, for people that recycle, for BFFs, for frenemies, for those with style, for lovers, for families, for big families, for everyone.
Peyton Murphy. I trust him.
Very respectful.
Very professional.
Reliable.
Very knowledgeable.
You can't ask for nothing better than that.
Choosing the right lawyer is an important decision. Visit murphylawfirm.com or call me, Attorney Peyton Murphy, 928-8800.
Welcome back to Paradise, Louisiana. We have two special guests that I had the pleasure of introducing, Dr. Joe Ojoa and Polly Glover with Restore or Retreat. So let's go ahead and start. Dr. Joe, tell us about Restore and Retreat and the foundation.
Probably back around year 2000, various business people in the Lafourche, Terrebonne area recognized the fact that the Terrebonne estuary and the Barataria estuary, both being the two most productive estuaries, were both also the most rapidly eroding, and basically wanted to find a way to have a group for advocacy, education, and basically fight for large-scale, aggressive restorative efforts in coastal restoration to try to preserve our community culture and the coast. And basically it started in 2000, and over the years had different executive directors, board members, and I, in about 2003, became a board member. Was not very active up until recently, whenever the executive director moved on, and I basically resigned as a board member and opted to be the executive director and take over, and subsequently hired Miss Polly, and we've been a team of two, coastal crusading to try to save Louisiana's coast.
Which is quite amazing. I thought, Restore Retreat had this big, huge staff, but you guys run this Restore Retreat, and through very digging and stuff, I find Restore Retreat to be one of my favorite coastal restoration projects that you've got. So, Polly, talk about the project that I was blessed to be a part of in October of a very special island, Barrier Island, east of Grand Isle.
Yeah, so we previously in 2022, which is where Joe and I really began our collaboration, we had gotten the opportunity to restore West Grand Terre. With that particular one, we engaged volunteers to plant around 8,500 plants. But most recently in October, we were able to take yourself, your lovely mom, I think it was somewhere around 37 or so volunteers, Joe,
Yes.
To go out and put 8,200 plants in an area which is the site of the former Marine Lab. They planted vermilion smoothcore and black mangroves, and I think around 300 sand oaks.
So let's talk about that Marine Lab and how special it is to you.
Yes. So I guess Joe and I, Joe, we were working together in 2022.
Right, to do the first phase of the
Right,
planting.
and Joe and I had sat in on a meeting with the CPRA, with their engineers and project designers, and because the island had been restored with funding from the Deepwater Horizon, so we were able to get that opportunity to go plant. And seeing the historical documents, I guess we learned that Dad had built the Marine Lab. He was the project designer and engineer.
Your father.
My father had built the Marine Lab. Joe and I didn't know it.
My father was on the Wildlife and Fisheries
Yeah.
Commission.
And it
at the
turns
same
out-
time, her
right.
dad was working on
And,
that project.
So the way it turned out, though, is that, we didn't know. I certainly didn't know. And I certainly didn't know the history of the Marine Lab and its significance to the state of Louisiana. But now I do.
Right. So let's talk about how West Grand Terre was rebuilt from hurricane damage.
Right. Well, first, I know we're talking about a restoration project, but we should give credit to CPRA and the state for basically revamping, rebuilding the dune, putting rock bereavements around where the Fort Livingston is. They had done, I'm going to call it 90% of the work,
Correct.
but they basically, they were shorted on how much vegetation. After the last step is to put, accoutrements on there and put vegetation in order to preserve the soils. And they basically were only able to do a portion of what they had originally planned. So that's whenever Miss Polly and I came in, and we had found monies from grants to be able to buy the plants to do the last part.
And it's important to note, too, Brendan, that the island was heavily impacted by the Deepwater Horizon oil spill,
Right.
which is, in turn, what made the CPRA look at it, because that island serves, as well as the other barrier islands, as our first line of defense against the storms. So they designated that project needed to be, brought online in a quicker fashion to get it restored. we were able then in 2022, in cooperation with the CPRA, to fund the vegetation portion, which is extremely expensive to do. Vegetation, not on one plant, but on tens of thousand plants, are very costly.
And the labor is a good
And-
fraction of it. So if you have
Correct.
volunteers who are able to assist like you did, then basically we're able to get double the amount of plants in the ground with volunteers than with hard labor.
Right. So when we come back, we're going to continue with Restore Retreat, and we're going to let you find out more and how you can volunteer and also donate. You're watching Paradise, Louisiana.
I've been asking him to change the oil for months now, and he never did. So I finally just went to Benny's. They even washed my car for free. Uh-huh. And you know what? It was amazing. Yeah, I left Benny's and got home before Rob even knew I was gone.
Benny? Who the heck is Benny?
Peyton Murphy. I trust him.
Very respectful.
Very professional.
Reliable.
Very knowledgeable.
You can't ask for nothing better than that.
Choosing the right lawyer is an important decision. Visit murphylawfirm.com or call me, Attorney Peyton Murphy, 928-8800.
Welcome back to Paradise, Louisiana. We're with special guest Dr. Joe Ojoie and Polly Glover with Restore Retreat. Let's talk about the Port Fourchon Terrace project that we just I actually was volunteered and got to do some of the planning with Black Mangroves. Dr. Joe?
Well, if you, first of all, halfway between, or in the middle of Fourchon and Grand Isle, if you look at a satellite map, you can see the old cheniers, as we call them, the old striation of ridges that used to be the beachfront thousands of years ago as it moved north and south. And as we experience coastal erosion, those have become open water. So Ducks Unlimited and ConocoPhillips and Wisner, the ConocoPhillips and Wisner being the two land companies with Ducks Unlimited funding, basically built the new terraces or strips of land with excavators to mimic the natural ridges that had been there. And again, with cost overruns, there was a certain amount of vegetation that was able to be planted on there within the budget, but fell a little short. So that's whenever Polly and I met basically people from Woodside Energy who also wanted to be involved in a project in the Fourchon area from where their offshore deepwater operations are based out of, and give back to the community. So they ultimately donated $100,000 for us to buy the mangroves that Miss Polly procured and planned the project for us to get good volunteers like you and all the equipment that you saw that we needed, the boats and organizing it to do it over 3 days.
Right. And a lot of people don't see the logistics that go behind this. I was impressed with it, hearing from Polly. Polly, you worked on this project for many months with logistics and stuff. Tell us about some of the stuff that you do before we as volunteers show up.
Yeah, so we began, I guess it was back in March, working alongside Ducks Unlimited, which I do want to say this so that the public understands. Ducks Unlimited truly is the North American conservation of wetlands leader. There's hands down no one doing it any better than them. So for the opportunity for Joe and I to collaborate with them was certainly a wonderful opportunity. But the project of this scale and scope, it was 89,000 linear feet of earthen terraces that you got a chance to walk.
It's absolutely amazing.
So on that end, we were looking at 12,000 black mangroves to go in the ground on this first phase. And the logistics of moving plants and volunteers and boats and equiment.
And setting up the teams to do the
having the
different
teams collaborate was logistically intense. We were fortunate enough that we had I had an outside group of collaborators. We had one of our supporters who she brings a wealth of knowledge to restorations. She and I have been restoring the coast for almost 2 decades now. We also had some outside support from a Florida-based company that came in and gave their expertise on black mangroves and mangroves specific to our region. So the logistics were pretty intense.
Yeah, I learned a lot from, that was Mang.
Correct.
You can get some of their gear, manggear.com.
Correct.
Keith was very knowledgeable. I didn't know that there's actually certain places you have to plant these mangroves, and they help with the root system for the erosion.
Yeah, and they actually brought, Joe and I had gotten to know the company 2 years ago or so, and they bring a wealth of knowledge on the global front to Louisiana because they've planted mangroves globally. So they've planted more than just the black mangroves. They've planted the other primary species.
Red mangroves.
Red and green.
In
So the
Florida.
opportunity to have them come to Louisiana to plant with us, to share their knowledge with all of us, to actually teach some of our volunteers was a pretty important collaboration for us to have.
Right. So how can people volunteer and get in touch with you guys? But if they can't volunteer, you actually have a link and a website, Facebook page. Tell us how we can contact and donate to your organization, because from my understanding, 100% of the proceeds that people donate to Restore Retreat stay in Louisiana.
Absolutely. We do everything we can. So restoreretreat.org is our website. And I would say the best first step is to contact us. And that'll put you on a mailing list that we send out the activities and the volunteer opportunities. Was having dinner with someone last night who found out about the mangrove planting and said, why you didn't call me? I said, well, because you didn't put your name in the volunteer list. So that's it. So that's probably the best way, is to start at the website and look for us on Facebook.
Right.
Right. And the other thing too, though, Brendan, is that the volunteers, if they want to join us, they can reach out to Joe or I. One of us will respond. And really and truly, it's the volunteers that allow Joe and I the opportunity to do this work, because they benefit a tremendous amount. If I can save, $25,000 in labor, that's 25,000 more plants I can put in the wetlands.
Absolutely.
And so the volunteers come out there, they engage with us. They want to come back. We have a huge amount of recidivism amongst our volunteers.
Oh, yes.
Although we bring in a lot of new ones, we have quite a few that have been with us for 2 years now, many of whom have been with me for more than 2 years now.
Yeah. Well, from Louisiana, I live in Central Louisiana. When I saw it firsthand, the devastation, it touched my heart. So thank you so much for allowing me to come down, to be a part of your projects, and hopefully to bring this education across Louisiana into North Louisiana. So on behalf of Louisiana residents, we thank you for all your efforts that you're doing to help restore our coastal wetlands.
Well, thank you for making it multi-generational by bringing your mother to one of our volunteers.
Yes,
and your son
which
to another one.
I will say, it was a
That's even
privilege
more
for me to
important.
have her out there.
Thank you so much.
Because the conditions that day, just so the public will understand, they were walking 1.5 miles into sight. So the conditions were a little bit rugged, and but the opportunity to have her out there, I think she kind of inspired us all. Certainly inspired Joe and I to have her out there planting. And then the public, most of the time, once they come out there, they take home to their communities the fact that we've got a wetlands land loss crisis.
That's right. Well, when we come back, we're going to end with our fishing and hunting report. And thank you again to Restore Retreat. You're watching Paradise, Louisiana.
As members of a Touchstone Energy cooperative, we've all got a job to do. And the more we work together, the more we save. That's the power of your co-op membership.
Demco, your Touchstone Energy Cooperative.
For the thirsty, for those who hang out in packs, for heroes, for sidekicks, for those who see the glass half empty, for those who see it half full, for those on the right, for those on the left, for those with nicknames, for those with curves, for people that cycle, for people that recycle, for BFFs, for frenemies, for those with style, For lovers, for families, for big families, for everyone.
This is Don Dubuque asking you to join me as a member of the Coastal Conservation Association. For 30 years, CCA has worked in Louisiana to conserve our incredible fisheries, making sure that our fishing is great today and for generations to come. Whether looking out for redfish and specks, eliminating gill nets, building reefs across the coast, or work at the state capitol and in D.C., CCA is doing what's best for the fish and the sport we love so much. Your $30 membership will ensure that this work and our great fishing endures well into the future. Go to ccalouisiana.com and join CCA today.
Welcome back to Paradise, Louisiana, and this is our combination fishing, hunting report, and event calendar. But thank you, and I want to thank Polly, and that was a tremendous report. I know it was long, but it was necessary, and I'm tickled pink. Now, because it was so valuable and long, I also had a report was going to do the Southwest Junior Bassmasters had their final tournament, and they had their awards banquet. All y'all that do that, y'all so good. I promise you it's going to be on the next week news. I don't know what Chris, he might just show y'all pictures, but I'm going to give a full report next week. Now, if I'm here. Now, we're going to talk fish report. Since you've been at Southwest, you said you had some reports. I got a report from Knight on the Bay.
Yep, Knight on the Lake. Bryce Knight at Lake Darbon.
But you got some more from your place in Toledo Bend. You can give me a freshwater report from up there.
Sure, absolutely. So the first one, we're going to start in North Louisiana, and that's at Lake Darbon. The good news is the drawdown is complete. They do that every 4 years, so the gates will be closed starting today. Bryce Knight is reporting that the Sockeye white perch are being caught on the river's edges right now with slot limit baits, a blue cheese, and a jig, and he's pitching them and fishing the edges and the stump line.
Now, I got a duck report. Tell me about Catahoula, because I'm going to go.
Sure. So Catahoula Lake is low right now. They are anticipated a big rain, so be careful whenever you go out there. If you don't have a blind, make sure you stick to that new part of the WMA out there. The canvasbacks are by the thousands right now on Catahoula Lake. Catahoula Lake is known for its canvasbacks. So anything around that lake, we're seeing a lot of green-winged teal that show
Remind
up.
everybody the limits on canvasback, pintail. What are the limits right now?
So I believe it's 2 canvasbacks and 1. Go to the Wildlife Fisheries website to it gets changes.
There you go.
I don't want to misquote. Always
Well,
go
let me
to
tell
the
you
website.
my mistake.
Yeah.
I'm calling and get all these reports from everybody. I called Ryan Lambert. Ryan Lambert's in Mexico. The season's closed on the coast. Yeah, same thing with my other brother, Mike Benj and them.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to call him, but I want to make sure my grandson and his in-laws, the Bullers, Whitesville, limit out every morning before 9:30. Okay, mostly teal, but they killing a spoonbill, a few spoonbill, kill a few woodies. Okay, I was asking Joe right there. Joe ain't had a chance to go. He told me about the fish, but he ain't had his Jessica. He's so busy, huh? While we were talking, I had an email came in about Highway 1 Coalition and their own schedule. Joe said he just passed it today, so that's one of my news reports. Don't want to miss nothing now. We're going to deer. Been had a lot of deer pictures. I asked y'all. I'm sorry that I'm going through it, but let me see if I missed anything. Last week I told you about my friend Bobby Black. His son then was in Kansas killed a big deer. So I sent him the picture, but I don't remember. Also, Bobby's son Kobe on their farm in Tensas, they killing a few bucks, and their guests are killing some big bucks over there in Tensas in Louisiana. He got on me one time. He said, "You don't need to talk about Kansas, but he got a lease in Indiana." Am I
Family
correct?
farm.
Yeah, he got a farm. I said, "Hey, You think where you think them people in Louisiana go? Don Dubuque always had what?
Yep.
The Cajun invasion is all
Alaska,
over, and we
Canada.
do that. You know, I used to go down to Mexico, different places. So it's all about Louisiana people, but don't forget our neighbors. You know, we don't want to forget our neighbors. It helps tourism. Now, here's a big buck they sent me from Kansas. This is Jordan big buck. That come from Bobby Black. Darrell Jans, his grandson killed his first one. I thought at first, and somebody said no, he didn't. Then a good friend of mine, he sent a picture of his son. I thought it was the first deer, a big rack, so I sent it over there. I didn't even write his name down, but my friend in Tom Place over there in Santa Monica, his son, that's his second one. That's his second big buck. Last year he killed 11 points, killed 10 points this week. So, and that's his son in that picture. So I got the picture too. Now, I told you about, so I'm going to tell you again and again, these captains all catching fish. Some of them are booked, but if you want to give a perfect gift, the guides at Toledo Bend, you go to the guides, the website, pick them out, you call them first, find out their prices. I don't think you can beat that gift. A duck hunt?
Oh, yeah.
A duck hunt, same thing. But right now, I'm trying to find one so somebody can make a one-day trip from Baton Rouge. So his wife wanted to give it to him. He said, where you going to go? He said, if it was me, I'd go to Ryan Lambert. You know, in January they're looking. They have tide trouble. Sometimes you go on the coast, you got to watch the tide. So I believe that's it. I'm going to get long-winded. I hope I didn't miss anybody. Chris, just run a picture, and people see themselves if I forgot to talk about it. Now, I had a young lady in there. I didn't write her name down, but thank you one more time. Thank you, Polly. Thank you, Mr. State Representative Joe. I'm going to take y'all to lunch just for that. I'm going to tell you what, Marty, like always, you keep it straight. I saw you watching the clock. You didn't watch as much as I did. My buddy can talk. He probably is going to be the next host. And he might even be the owner of Paradise, Louisiana, if he wants it.
That was going to be a secret.
Yeah. you know I love you.
I love you too.
Even though you correct me too much. You're watching Paradise, Louisiana. God bless Louisiana.
Yes.
Have a Merry Christmas. Don't forget the reason for the season.
This is your weekly trip to Paradise, Louisiana style, with Gary Risponi. Paradise, Louisiana is also brought to you by Baton Rouge Coca-Cola Bottling Company, Benny's Car Wash and Oil Change, CCA Louisiana, and the CCA Louisiana Star Tournament, IMCO, and by Farm Bureau Insurance.